Gwinnett County, Georgia.
Gwinnett County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Hamilton Mill, Vance Auto Parts.
Over a 2-month period,
Gwinnett County 911, what's the location of the emergency? These autos on Decatur Road, Decatur, Georgia. Advanced Auto Parts in Decatur, Winder Highway. Just been robbed at gunpoint.
auto parts stores across the county are being targeted.
Who was just robbed? The store has been robbed.
White, black, Asian, Hispanic?
Black. He was a black male, black jacket on.
By what appears to be the same suspect.
Mid to later 20s, 5'6", 5'7". He was African American male.
What did he take?
Money, lost of it.
After searching for the suspect for 13 weeks,
What's the location of your emergency? Hello? 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 Is anyone there?
He's dead! He's dead!
Who's dead?
The guy shot him!
Hold right there.
What guy shot him? Did somebody rob the business?
They tried!
Okay, where is this subject that shot them?
That's right!
Okay, is the officer there with you?
Yes, it's here!
Alright, you guys go down middle. I got back here. Okay.
for homicide detectives, their chance of solving a murder is cut in half if they don't get a lead within the first 48 hours. Four-year homicide veteran Corporal Chris Smith will lead the investigation.
I got victim's last name going right now. Cosme. C-O-S-M-E. Felix.
63-year-old Felix Cosme served in multiple police departments before joining the Gwinnett Sheriff's Office in 2006. He retired from the force 5 years earlier. He leaves behind 2 sisters.
We have a search warrant already going for here.
You know, they got robbed a little while back. In November, I think it was, 22nd?
The same store was robbed 6 weeks earlier, but the suspects were never caught.
I just talked to the manager, and he said they did not pony up for cameras.
Detective Diego Galasso and Sergeant Shelley Millsap interview the 911 caller.
Well, I'm Detective Galasso, and this is Sergeant Millsap. You work here?
Yes.
Okay. What happened today?
I was finishing up a 2012 Jeep Liberty, a scan.
The witness says she was helping a customer in the parking lot.
When I was walking back in, I turned and I saw a silver grayish 2012 to 2014 Jetta backing in, and then the lights went out real quick. And then I walked in, and he came in. He went up to me first. I was in the front, and then Felix was further back. The guy tapped me on my shoulder. He was very calm. He said, "Open your drawer." Then opened my drawer for him and put up my hands. Felix reached for his gun, and he shot Felix twice. The guy ran over and grabbed his gun.
He went back to Felix and took his gun.
Yes. And I ran to the front of the counter. He took 2 steps behind me. I said, please don't kill me. I have a kid. Felix was moaning, and then he was saying, call the cops. And then he took 2 steps like he was going to leave, and then I heard him kind of like fastly walk towards Felix, and then he shot him that one last time. Then Felix's body stopped moving, and then he ran out the front door. I waited a few seconds, ran towards the door, saw them go right towards the interstate.
Now, did you see him go out to the door to get into the car?
No, I waited a few seconds. I just saw the car leave. I locked the door, I ran to Felix, and then I started screaming.
Could you tell how many people were in the car?
Mm-mm. It was dark. It looked like they maybe had tint on their windows.
And when this guy came into the store, was he wearing anything covering his face?
No.
Did he have dark skin complexion, light skin complexion?
Dark skin.
And how old do you think he probably was?
Between 24 to 27. He had a hat on, but it looked like he had curly short hair. He had a jacket on. I mean,
Bomber jacket or?
it was a very slender jacket. It was black and it had zippers.
Do you know what kind of gun it was?
No.
You working a couple of months ago when this place got robbed?
Asked off for that Friday.
So you don't know if it's the same guy or anything?
Mm-mm.
Now, did he get anything out of this?
I don't think so. I know he didn't touch my drawer.
Is there anything that you can think of? Did he have any tattoos on
He
his
had
face or his neck?
Gold ring on his left hand pinky finger. It was bigger and it was square. It was just all gold, like mob people wear.
Thank you for being patient. I know you've been through a lot.
She walks inside and the black female follows with her around the same time.
As word gets out that the robbery spree has turned deadly,
Search warrant, sir.
Okay, awesome. You want to go inside and look? Oh, he got him in the eye.
Felix was shot 7 times in the head, chest, stomach, leg, and arm.
This is his easy I love cars, so I'll work in the auto store gig. There's 2 shell casings right here.
The team finds 7 .380 casings behind the counter.
Okay, here's another one.
And a single 40 millimeter near Felix's body.
He had a gun. He went to reach for his gun.
And where's his gun?
The guy took it. It's gonna be a hard one.
This is PO.
Do you know him?
He did work for us.
Okay.
One of Felix's former co-workers at the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office comes to the scene after hearing about the murder.
He was such a nice guy. I had a feeling Cosme probably tried to stop him. I mean,
He did.
He's a retired law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
You know, he's doing what he was trained to do. And he went out like that.
All right. Well, thank you for coming out.
Thank you for your work.
No
You guys
problem.
find this guy.
We will. Don't worry.
He said it's on the news. Okay. He rushed over here, so I just told him to stand by.
A close friend of Felix's also arrives at the scene.
Sir? I'm Corporal Smith. I'm the lead investigator on this. Okay. Let's walk down here, okay?
Oh, God. Oh, God. Is he gone? What?
Yes, sir. He didn't make it. Well, I'm very, very sorry. He tried to stop a robbery. Do you know any of his family?
Yes, I was on the phone with him just a second ago.
Okay, who is that?
That's his sister.
Could you get me his sister's number?
Yes. He knew this was going to happen.
Why do you say that?
Because they got robbed.
In November?
In November.
Uh-huh.
Felix was not working the night of the previous robbery.
This is KB.
I don't have to keep you here. I'm going to give you a card with my information. If there's anything you think of that you need, you just call me, okay?
Okay.
And I'm very, very sorry. This is a horrible situation.
Thank you.
That's the worst part of this job.
Then,
When? Yeah, there's a 44 on West Side and an AutoZone that just have
Smith gets word that another auto parts store has just been robbed.
I feel like it's the same guy. There was a robbery in the West Precinct. It's also a black male that would be on his way down the interstate.
How did they describe the guy?
Millsap speaks with a detective working the robbery that just came in.
He says around 20 to 25. This is really calm. He's wearing a all black hoodie.
Gotta be the same dude.
She said it wasn't a hoodie, more like a jacket. It could be the fact that there's two.
Could be
One came
taking
in here,
turns.
and then one got out at the other location.
You just know that you just killed somebody and you went and did another one?
Did they describe her car?
We really don't have his car description.
Did you guys check to see if there's anything around there that might have a video picking up this car coming in or out of there?
It depends on which way it went in.
The team will search for surveillance cameras near the AutoZone.
Just hit me up if you find something else out. Okay.
I'm going to go back and create a to-do list for the guys in the morning. So what we want to do is get the license plate reader stuff to see if we can compare the cars.
License plate readers near the two crime scenes may have caught images of the suspect vehicle.
I'm going to set up a meeting for everybody tomorrow so that we can all get on the same page and compare all of these other robberies. That's kind of where we're at. Oh, hey, Smith. Hey.
12 hours in,
The sketch artist. I've got her on standby.
the team will bring in a sketch artist, hoping Felix's coworker can give them a picture of the killer.
Hey, this is Detective Smith. We would like to have you sit down with a sketch artist. Is that something that you would be willing to do? All right, thank you so much. She says she'll do it today.
Then,
So Norcross developed a tag coming off the interstate, off the LPR, over the overpass.
a Volkswagen fitting the description of the suspect vehicle was picked up on a license plate reader near the AutoZone robbery.
Is it matched?
Yeah, he's saying it's a gray Jetta. The only gray Jetta that's come through there at the time frame, and it comes back to a black female. She's doing a full workup on it.
The team is waiting for more info on the woman who owns the car.
Well, we'll see.
As pressure builds to catch the suspects before they strike again,
Guys, squeeze in, please.
detectives across several departments share what they know about the robberies.
That's what we're trying to do today, is find out what cases match.
People holding up the auto parts store is very rare. Because of that, Cofield was given that series.
Robbery detective Justin Cofield is leading the investigation into the string of robberies.
November 22nd of last year, the same O'Reilly's was hit. A black male, really skinny, black sweater, just like this one and all of them. They said that they should always stress that he was really calm. And most of them, he's wearing a surgical mask. He said, the government, I'm only here for the event. So.
Fast forward. Last night, how was the MO?
That one's very calm. He told him that I'm only here for the AutoZone money, not y'all.
Pretty bold if they shot and execute him to go down the road, you know, less than 40 minutes later and do another robbery. They've shown the violence and really don't give an F. Just so you know, I got off the phone with the FBI. They've been working pretty hard. We got to do something with this car. That's kind of the real solid lead we have now, so we work with what we got. This is where the experience in the room comes in hand, okay?
"23 hours in,
You got the drawing back?
Yeah. Look at that picture.
detectives compare a drawing of the suspect
This came off of her post last night.
We found that on her social media.
with a photo of a man on a social media page belonging to the woman who owns the Jetta.
What day was that picture taken? This morning.
Oh, yeah.
He got a pinky ring on.
That's why
He got a pinky ring on.
Oh, that's him.
That's him.
That's him. I told you the pinky ring was going to be the nail in the coffin. Ain't nobody wearing no pinky rings.
So we're gonna put him in a 6-pack and give it to the bid?
Absolutely.
While Smith works on a lineup,
Be ready to hit that house.
Let's get somebody down there.
That's what I'm saying.
an unmarked car will keep eyes on the address of the Jetta's owner.
I think that's your lineup. Call her.
Hey, it's Detective Smith again. We actually have a photo lineup that we want to show you. Okay. We're probably going to head that way shortly. Okay, thank you so much. All right, bye-bye. All right, she's going to be home waiting. We have some detectives in the Special Victims Unit that are going to head out to the house to show the lineup.
Hours in, detectives returned from showing the lineup to the eyewitness.
Can't pick anyone out.
She couldn't make a positive ID.
That one.
Not the end of the world, though.
Yeah, right now. We have enough PC to grab that car all day long.
I want to get a little more so we have this more airtight.
Time is on our side. That's fine. Let's watch her movements.
The team decides to get a warrant to put a GPS tracker on the Jetta.
I think I'm just getting like mentally drained, and
Yes.
so I'm just getting very.
I see that too.
I definitely felt the weight in this case of having to investigate another law enforcement officer's death. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure, and personally, it was something that I really, really wanted to get solved.
With the clock winding down,
Yeah, that warning sign, though.
I'm going to give this to somebody.
a judge approves the warrant for the tracker.
The trackers are extremely beneficial to us. We use them for a couple of reasons. The first, obviously, is we want to track that suspect vehicle and the people in it. We want to learn their daily routines, where they eat, where they lay their head. And also the biggest thing is following them where they may go hit another location. Because that way, if we're watching it, we can start putting people in that area to, intercept them. It's just going to take a little more work, but I'm confident that we're going to get there. We're going to be able to get justice.
In the first 48, Gwinnett County Homicide responded to the murder of former police officer Felix Cosme, shot while trying to stop a robbery. Learned the shooter wore a gold pinky ring and fled in a gray Volkswagen Jetta. Discovered a gray Jetta was tracked by license plate readers near the scene of another auto parts store robbery. Found a photo of the Jetta's owner with a man who matches the description of the suspect, and put a tracker on the Jetta in case the suspect strikes again.
Tracker Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Over the next 5 days,
That's when we see suspect vehicle make that U-turn right here.
detectives track the Jetta's movements.
She is continuing to go to work every day. And like nobody missed a beat.
And we haven't seen him take her car and go anywhere all weekend. We're just gonna have to go ask her, hey, what were you doing today? We decided just go ahead and talk to her, overview, like, were you there? Were you the one that was driving? Where you're going? Just something we can check into and verify. It's the next right. There it is, backed in. Hello? Hey, I'm Detective Smith. This is Detective Loomis with Gwinnett Police. We're following up on an incident that happened in Gwinnett on Jimmy Carter last week, Wednesday. There's an LPR that reads all the tags coming off the interstate right there, and it had your tag. So we're just trying to follow up and see what were you doing, what was going on.
I was headed home, getting my braces tightened. My orthodontist is in Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Okay. You got off on Jimmy Carter, so did you take that down to, like, Buford Highway?
When I got off on Jimmy Carter, I turned around. A police officer actually pulled me over and told me that I didn't put my signal on when I switched lanes. They basically just gave me a warning.
Okay. Well, thank you for talking to us. I appreciate it. Thank you. So we can pull that and see when she got pulled over? They can pull, if you know specifically the tag. Yes, sir.
Will you pull up CAD?
Detectives follow up on her alibi.
Then look for a pullover on 85 South on the night of the robbery.
Yep, she was pulled over.
The Jetta was 5 miles away from the second auto parts store at the time it was robbed.
So we started looking into that Jetta. We hit a dead end with it. We spent a lot of time on that, but that's kind of what happens in these investigations. You may run something down for a while, and then it turns out not to be the right person. So kind of went back to the drawing board and started looking again at LPR data, surveillance cameras in the area, and just couldn't really find another Jetta that matched what we were looking for.
After Felix's murder.
Gwinnett County 911, what's the location of the emergency?
You want to how we arrived. They got her off that gunpoint.
The crime spree continues.
What do they look like?
2 black males, about 5'7", 5'6", wearing all black with face masks. Can you send somebody, please?
Yes, sir. I've already got the call set up for police.
There was another incident last night. Same description of the same guys, possibly same car description. So we're looking at the video we collected now from a tire place across the street.
Right there.
Yep.
They just went in right there, right?
Yeah.
So 9:19.
4 minutes after the 2 men entered the store.
There they go.
Area.
They just went around the corner.
Looks silverish over there.
Yeah.
Turning right onto Lawrenceville Highway and heading north.
The team will check license plate readers in the area, hoping to ID the new suspect vehicle.
That car is going to be picked up on a flock camera somewhere.
This Jetta hit on the LPR. We were finally able to get a tag. It turns out it was beige and not silver. The owner was a 52-year-old man, but he had a 25-year-old stepson, Tavares Nora. He didn't match the sketch or anything like that, but we knew there were probably two people involved in the homicide. So in my mind, he could have at least been the getaway driver. He had a prior conviction for a DUI, but nothing that would link him to the murder that I had at the moment.
2 months later.
All right, thanks for calling me. Let me know. All right, bye. So I just got a call from Henry County Police. They just had a robbery at one of their auto parts stores.
Another auto parts store robbery occurred in Stockbridge, Georgia, 30 miles from Gwinnett County.
They said they came in, didn't really say much, ordered everybody to the ground. They kind of matched the physical description of what we're looking for. My only issue is the car. They came in a dark gray Camry.
Smith checks Tavares Nora's arrest history to see if he's ever been stopped in a Camry.
Let's see. Huh, what do you know? A Toyota Camry, 2009, gray.
Tavares was driving a Toyota Camry when he was pulled over for a DUI a month before Felix was murdered.
Somebody was in the car with him after he was arrested, and Prince Tafari Robertson, 27 years old. Could be the other guy. He's about the right age. He does have an ag assault, possession of a firearm, financial transaction card theft, theft by taking. But I would say he looked pretty dang close to the drawing. This would be the trigger man.
I think that looks pretty accurate.
I mean, I've never seen a sketch that close. We started researching Prince and Tavares. I looked through their phone records, and what we found was at least one of their phones was hitting at all of our incident locations. And then we started looking into the beige Jetta. We were able to put that at a lot of the crime scenes. It really wasn't enough yet to bring them in, still circumstantial. So at that point, we reached out to the FBI. So they came in with their assets and helped us to start doing physical surveillance on them.
After tracking Tavares Nora and Prince Robertson for 6 weeks.
So the FBI were following Prince and Tavares. They went to another auto parts store and did another robbery. They followed them when they left the robbery to do a takedown on the vehicle. They ended up crashing into someone's backyard. They fled on foot and we weren't able to catch them. But we did find Felix's 40mm handgun in the floorboard of the car. At that point, I felt like we had enough to take the warrants on them. We went and talked to Tavares' family. They hadn't heard from them. We explained how serious it was to them.
The day after detectives spoke to Tavares' family member.
Tavares turned himself in. I think he's just been the driver all along. I don't think he's the mastermind. With the FBI and the takedown last night, I mean, he knows he's in some serious trouble. Maybe he'll feel more apt to opening up.
I'm Corporal Smith. This is Detective Cofield.
How you doing today, man? First, I want to applaud you. You came down here. How old are you?
25.
Okay, so I'm only a year older than you.
No different than you.
Just tell me about yourself a little bit.
I'm just human, striving for the best.
You were?
Yeah.
Where at?
America.
Nice.
I went to college, Clark University, to get better for basketball.
Nice. Why do you think you're here right now?
Well, my mom called me and told me about a murder. She thought the best thing for me to do was to turn myself in. And I did too.
It's been a mature decision.
Before. Yeah.
You know, we've been working on this for a while. I know that you're not the only person involved. Maybe you're just helping a friend out. You kind of got drugged into something that you really didn't want to be in. So, what's your side of the story?
What part of it?
Well, talk to me about your friend Prince, right? We know you hang out with him a lot. How do you know him?
I met him at a job.
Okay. How long ago?
A couple of years back.
Okay. And the other guy has a pretty extensive criminal history.
Yeah. Like last night, I didn't know like that was gonna happen.
Okay, walk me through that. How did that come about?
It was kind of like a scary situation, like when the police came, because I don't want to lose my life, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people that look up to me and need me around, so I was just trying to avoid getting killed that day. Like that was the craziest thing I ever.
Okay. Well, talk to me about what happened just before that, because you guys were somewhere right before that, you and Prince. So what happened?
That's something I'd rather talk to a lawyer about.
Okay.
You do have a right to have a lawyer. Right now, I guess, kind of laid out, you're going to be charged with armed robberies and with your case.
You know, in the car, there was a gun found in the car, right? And that gun is linked back to the deputy that was killed in Buford on Hamilton Mill at that O'Reilly's.
That'll be felony murder.
I'll be back with you, okay? He was nice. I just think he was just overly probably tired from running all night, and he just seemed defeated. Now he's gonna get taken over to the jail. He's gonna go get booked in.
Just 2 hours later, an officer spotted Prince walking on the side of a residential road and took him into custody.
How you doing?
Good, good. Let me get you to sit right here.
All right.
I'm Corporal Smith. This is Sergeant Millsap.
Okay.
And we just want to talk to you, you know, kind of get the story and see what's going on here.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know you probably got some questions, but...
Yeah, I'm walking on the side of the road. I seen one GCPD drive down, take a left. I seen another sheriff pull off into the Marco's Pizza parking lot. So I'm walking, and then by the time I blink, I turn around, there's a gun pointed in my face, and then a gentleman ready to let a canine loose on me. Now, my only question is this. You guys go through months of top-notch training, am I correct? Mm-hmm. All right. So what is the grounds for you to pull up? And you guys are peace officers. That happened with George Floyd?
No, let me back you up here. Where did you stay last night?
Where I stayed? I was with a friend, a Mexican friend of mine. I just knew there was a little commotion going on in the area, and he gave me a place to stay.
What do you mean by commotion?
Commotion, like, you know, last night I seen a lot of helicopters in the area. There was police out, so I didn't know what was going on.
Well, what were you doing before that?
I put a job application in. A friend of mine got a haircut.
Who's the friend?
Don't know.
You don't know your friend?
No. Drove there.
In what car?
In a Honda Sonata.
Okay. Whose car is that?
She's actually giving me room and board as far as just...
He says the car he was driving when he was pulled over belongs to a female friend.
You're helping a young man out, seeing you know, going through a lot. You know what I mean? This whole system doesn't set up parameters for an individual like me to really blossom or prosper. So that's probably another reason why we're sitting here having this conversation as we are. All I know is I'm driving and cars cut me off. I didn't know who it was. I didn't see no police lights. I didn't see nobody acknowledging themselves as the police. I didn't see GCPD signs. I didn't see Gwinnett County sheriffs. I didn't see. And at that point, I felt like I was in fear of my life, and I proceeded to basically remove myself from the situation.
So what did you do with the car?
I left it.
And so what happened to your friend that was in the car with you?
I don't know.
Y'all just split up?
Well, the thing is, he wasn't involved in anything.
What do you mean he wasn't involved in anything?
Me and him wasn't involved in anything.
Interesting.
So what happened in between the job application and the haircut? Were you anywhere else?
No.
Okay. So you never went to any auto parts stores?
Nope.
Okay. Well, what if I told you I have you on video at that auto parts store?
I wasn't at no auto parts store. Me, myself, I wasn't at no auto parts store. My partner wasn't at no auto parts store.
Okay. Well, what if I tell you we saw you at the auto parts store in the car you went with the tag in that parking lot?
You have to show me a video.
What if I told you that we have video and pictures of you at multiple auto parts stores over the past months?
Nah, negative. Definitely a negative.
Okay.
Definitely a negative. You never seen me, Prince Robertson, ever do anything like that.
You know, when you take your phone somewhere, we can see everywhere you went.
I think you guys are lying. I think you guys are trying to get some type of case and trying to build something together.
So you mean all the videos and the photos and the tag readers and guns that we have that come back to you, all of that?
What guns that come back to me?
You tell me?
The only two guns that were in my name were confiscated before.
This one wasn't in your name. You took this one.
From where?
From an auto parts store robbery.
From where?
Buford.
No, not at all. Not me.
Okay.
Not me.
But it was in the car, in the Sonata where you were driving?
Not me.
Okay.
It was in the car, bro. It was in the girl's car.
That's cool. That's cool. But then again, she got brothers, she got dudes, she probably did it before me. It's not my car.
Okay. So what about your boy Tavares?
Who's that?
Tavares Noren. You're with him all the time.
You went and picked him up yesterday. So now you're acting like you don't know who Tavares is?
No, I don't.
Stop, man. Stop it.
Guess what? This country about to go to This country is going to all y'all gonna do is take y'all same home training that y'all get from the academy, and you're gonna have to put that down and protect your homes. This country's going to the floodgates of these prisons gonna open up, and they're gonna let everybody out. That's what's gonna happen. This country is going to think about it. I live in a land of taxation without representation. This country was founded upon no taxation without representation.
So you're saying, man, that you haven't committed any of these crimes?
I haven't committed.
So is that your way of representing yourself by stealing and robbing and putting guns in people's face?
Me, Prince Tavares Robertson, never did that in my life.
So you're that kind of person that can just murder somebody in cold blood and you can't even tell us you did it?
I never murdered nobody.
You didn't shoot a deputy 7 times and then take his gun and shoot him with that gun?
Nope.
The same gun that was found in the car with you yesterday?
Nope. Okay. Never did that. Never committed that.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Yeah. We're going to take some pictures of you and we're going to get your fingerprints and then we'll have someone take you over to the jail.
Do y'all do what y'all got to do, man. I ain't knocking y'all. Y'all got a job, a family to feed.
All right, let's move. We'll get you started.
Get this started, get you out of here.
No problem.
It feels amazing to finally have this case come to a close. We really, really wanted to solve this one and bring his family some justice. It's taken us 6 months to get there. We're never really able to determine exactly why they were hitting auto parts stores. We learned later, Prince, he was involved in some other auto parts store robberies. I think because it worked before, so it's something that he thought he could do again. I've let Deputy Cosme's sister know that they were in custody. She was crying because, for her, she's been living this nightmare. A huge relief for her and his family. So it's really the best part of the case, being able to call her and let her know.
2 years since the murder, Felix's coworker who called 911 is still haunted by that night.
I'm from Florida. We moved up here in 2011. I'm a mom of 2. I have a fiance, and I like cars. I worked at O'Reilly's for about a year and a half. The night that it happened, I remember a guy walked in. He told me to open up my drawer. I knelt down to the floor. He shoved the gun to the back of my head. I do remember I didn't want to leave my kid. I really wanted her to know that I loved her. I just remember closing my eyes and just preparing, myself to die. And then I heard him shuffle, and then he ran back, shot Felix in the face, and then ran out of the store. After the event happened, and I told the story to several different cops, and I remember feeling that I wanted to help them, but at the same time, all I really wanted was to go back home to my kid. After that whole incident, I didn't leave my house very much. If I go to the store or anything, someone has to be with me. My uncle actually called me. He was like, "Hey, they caught the guys." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's really good." But I'm still terrified. I'm still scared. And I'm not okay. I felt really bad that Felix died the way he did and that he wouldn't get to go home to his family. That's the hardest part for me to kind of get through, was the fact that I somehow managed to escape death, but he did not.
Tad Kleiner, accompanied by a man named Michael Brummett Jr. and a third unidentified individual, went to visit Steve Wilkins at the garage to intimidate and assault him. The witness claimed that Tad Kleiner later boasted about severely beating Steve, describing the assault in graphic detail. She further alleged that Michael Brummett Jr. had been brought in to clean up the crime scene with bleach and had subsequently set the garage on fire to destroy the evidence. The witness provided the names of the individuals involved. Tad Kleiner was a 36-year-old with a history of drug possession and firearm convictions. Michael Brummett Jr. was a 39-year-old who is currently serving a 5-year prison sentence on unrelated weapons charges, having been arrested 4 months after the fire with both a .38 caliber revolver and a 9mm handgun. The witness also named her boyfriend, who is currently held in the local jail, as someone who had witnessed Tad Kleiner making these confessions. Detectives quickly arranged to interview the witness's boyfriend at the jail. He confirmed the story, explaining that Tad Kleiner and Michael Brummett Jr. had discussed handling Steve Wilkins. He also identified a third accomplice, a 26-year-old man named Devin Scrivener, who had been seen bleeding from his hand shortly after the incident, with 2 independent accounts pointing to the same group of suspects. The detectives received further confirmation when the medical examiner's office officially identified the skeletal remains as those of Stephen Wilkins. The identification was made by comparing hospital radiology records with the recovered bones. The search for Devin Scrivener began immediately. Detectives Ward and Kennedy searched his girlfriend's neighborhood on the west side, eventually locating Devin and taking him into custody. During his interrogation, Devin quickly became the weak link in the conspiracy. He admitted that Tad Kleiner had recruited him and Michael Brummett Jr. to confront Steve Wilkins regarding the allegations that Steve had drugged Tad's former girlfriend. Devin described how the confrontation rapidly turned violent. He claimed that Tad Kleiner began shouting at Steve before striking him. Tad and Michael then launched into a brutal assault, beating Steve until he collapsed. Devin claimed he became frightened and attempted to intervene, urging them to stop. He then saw Michael Brummett Jr. draw a handgun and fire a shot. Devin admitted that during the chaos, he had stabbed Steve twice with a knife when Steve tried to escape from his chair, severely cutting his own hand in the process. Following Devin's confession, he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. The warrants team quickly tracked down Tad Kleiner and brought him in for questioning. Tad initially denied any involvement in the murder, claiming he had only warned Steve to stay away from local women and denying that he was present on the night of the fire. However, when confronted with the statements of multiple witnesses and his own admissions of having threatened the victim, Tad Kleiner was booked into the county jail on charges of first-degree murder. An arrest warrant for first-degree murder was also prepared for Michael Brummett Jr., who remained in state custody. To understand the motive behind this brutal act of vigilante justice, Detective Kennedy located Tad Kleiner's former girlfriend and brought her in for an interview. When shown a photograph of Steve Wilkins, she stated unequivocally that she had never seen him before in her life. She confirmed that she had never been assaulted, harassed, or drugged by Steve, and that the rumors circulating on the West Side were entirely fabricated. The tragedy of Steve Wilkins' death was the result of baseless neighborhood gossip. A group of individuals had taken it upon themselves to administer street justice for a crime that never occurred, resulting in the senseless murder of an innocent volunteer and baker. Thanks to the diligent efforts of the Tulsa homicide detectives, the perpetrators were held accountable, bringing a somber resolution to a case that had remained hidden in the ashes for 5 months. The second investigation takes us to North Charleston, South Carolina, where the piece of a residential neighborhood on Rolling Fork Road was shattered in the early hours of the morning. A resident called 911 to report that an unknown individual was desperately banging on her doors and windows, screaming for medical assistance. When patrol officers arrived at the apartment complex, they discovered a young man collapsed under a first-floor stairwell. He was unresponsive, covered in blood, and bleeding heavily from a single gunshot wound to his upper thigh. Despite the rapid response of emergency medical personnel, the victim's pulse faded, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. Homicide detectives arrived to begin their investigation. The positioning of the body and the heavy volume of blood suggested that the victim had suffered a severed femoral artery. A trail of blood led from the stairwell back toward a set of dumpsters near the parking lot, terminating at a metal guardrail. Nearby, Investigators discovered a 9mm handgun magazine, but no firearm was. Recovered, a locked cell phone, heavily stained with blood, was found along the path of the blood trail. Detectives interviewed the residents who had placed the 911 call. Although they had not heard any gunshots, they provided crucial assistance by sharing the security camera footage from their front door. The video showed the victim stumbling onto their porch at approximately 1:17 in the morning, clearly injured, with no one pursuing him. The detectives located a city-managed security camera pointed directly at the single entrance and exit of the apartment complex. They also contacted the security company responsible for the complex's private cameras, arranging to download the footage from the pool area near the crime scene. Through fingerprint analysis, the coroner identified the deceased as 21-year-old Aurelius Siren Nelson Jr., known to his family and friends as C. He was a resident of James Island and the father of a young son. While reviewing the apartment complex's security footage, detectives identified a suspicious vehicle, a white or silver Infiniti sedan that exited the property at a high rate of speed just minutes before the 911 call. The detectives suspected that the shooting had occurred inside this vehicle and that the driver had fled the scene immediately afterward. The investigation took a dramatic turn 12 hours later when patrol officers attempted to stop a utility vehicle containing 3 individuals. When the vehicle pulled over, 2 occupants fled on foot, leaving behind a man who claimed he had been kidnapped and assaulted. The man explained to detectives that the 2 men who fled were friends of the deceased victim, Aurelius Nelson. They had accused him of setting Aurelius up to be robbed. The kidnapping victim revealed that on the night of the shooting, Aurelius had approached him, stating his intention to commit a robbery. Aurelius had identified his target as a local drug dealer who drove a white Infiniti. 37. The kidnapping victim provided the name of the drug dealer to the detectives. Using this information, the investigative teams searched public databases and identified several addresses associated with the owner of the white Infiniti. A search of his criminal record revealed a recent arrest on drug charges with a $40,000 bond. By contacting the bail bonding company, detectives obtained the address of the suspect's girlfriend. Detective Samuel located the girlfriend and persuaded her to come to the police department for an interview. She confirmed that her boyfriend drove a white Infiniti and that she communicated with him daily. At the request of the detectives, she placed a phone call to him on speakerphone. Detective Samuel spoke directly with the suspect, who agreed to come to the city hall within the hour to discuss the matter. However, before the suspect could arrive voluntarily, a license plate reader flagged his white Infiniti in traffic. Patrol officers performed a high-risk traffic stop, detaining the suspect and towing his vehicle to a secure police warehouse. At the police station, the suspect initially requested an attorney and declined to answer questions. However, detectives proceeded with a search warrant for his vehicle, using a chemical called Blue Star, which illuminates trace amounts of blood, Forensic technicians discovered significant quantities of blood soaked deep beneath the fabric of the front passenger seat. It was clear that someone had thoroughly wiped down the interior of the car in an attempt to destroy evidence. Additionally, detectives observed what appeared to be a bullet hole in the driver's side door. Faced with the physical evidence in his vehicle, the suspect chose to waive his rights and speak with the detectives. He recounted a harrowing story of survival. He explained that Aurelius Nelson had contacted him to meet under the pretense of a transaction. Aurelius entered his vehicle, but as they were driving, Aurelius pulled out a handgun and announced a robbery. A violent struggle ensued inside the moving car. The suspect fought desperately to control the firearm, striking Aurelius while attempting to steer. During the struggle, the gun discharged twice. Aurelius cried out that he had shot himself in the leg. The suspect managed to wrest the gun away, and Aurelius fled the vehicle, running toward the apartment complex where he eventually collapsed. Terrified and unsure of what to do, the suspect drove away and threw the handgun into a nearby wooded area before returning home to clean his car. The detectives carefully analyzed the suspect's account. The physical evidence, including the trajectory of the bullet hole in the door and the nature of the victim's thigh wound, perfectly aligned with the struggle over a firearm from the driver's seat. It became clear that Aurelius Nelson had tragically caused his own death during an attempted armed robbery. The detective division decided not to charge the suspect with murder, recognizing that he had acted in self-defense during a violent crime. Instead, he was charged with misprision of a felony for his actions in cleaning the blood from the vehicle and disposing of the firearm. The case concluded with a profound lesson on the tragic consequences of criminal choices, leaving a young father deceased and another man facing felony charges for his panic-driven response to a life-threatening situation. The third investigation brings us to Gwinnett County, Georgia, where a double homicide occurred at a quiet community park in the middle of the night. A frantic young woman called 911 from a parked car, reporting that her boyfriend and his friend had just been shot by unknown individuals who fled through the woods. Responding officers and a canine unit arrived quickly at the scene. The canine tracked a scent through the woods, leading directly to the backyard of a nearby residence on Norris Lane, where the trail went cold. At the park, officers discovered the bodies of 19-year-old Aiden Reynolds and 17-year-old John Pendrick near a picnic table. Both teenagers had been shot multiple times. John was shot in the arm, chest, back, and torso, while Aiden had sustained fatal wounds to his chest, underarm, and back. Crime scene investigators recovered 13 9mm shell casings clustered tightly around the picnic table, suggesting a single shooter had fired a rapid succession of rounds inside the waistband of John's trousers. Investigators discovered a realistic-looking replica toy gun. Detectives Pearson and Raina interviewed John's girlfriend, Kayla, who had remained in the car during the incident. She explained that Aiden and John had traveled to the park to sell $400 worth of marijuana to an individual they had contacted through the social media application Instagram. Kayla claimed she had fallen asleep in the vehicle and was awakened by the sound of gunfire, catching only a brief glimpse of two individuals in black clothing fleeing into the darkness. She denied knowing the identity of the buyer. Forensic technicians processed the scene and recovered the mobile phones of both victims. While John's phone was accessible, Aiden's phone was severely damaged and required specialized repair before any data could be retrieved. An analysis of John's phone revealed a text message sent by Aiden an hour before the meeting, in which Aiden asked John what he thought about the possibility of robbing the buyer. This text suggested that the transaction was fraught with dangerous intentions from the outset. Kayla was interviewed a second time. When confronted with the reality of the situation, she shared an additional detail. She revealed that a few months prior, Aiden had taken $90 from a local young woman during a drug transaction without delivering the product. Detectives followed this lead to the residence on Norris Lane where the canine unit had tracked the scent. The young woman who lived there admitted knowing Aiden but denied any involvement in the shooting, stating that she bore no ill will toward him despite his past actions. The breakthrough in the case came 13 days later when the forensic laboratory successfully recovered the data from Aiden's damaged phone. The messages on his Instagram account detailed a conversation with an account named Popshoots_A. The messages negotiated the sale of 56 grams of marijuana for $400, with the buyer suggesting the park as the meeting location. The timestamps of the messages aligned perfectly with the security camera footage recovered from a neighboring home. At 12:25 in the morning, the buyer messaged that he had arrived, and the video showed a figure walking toward the picnic table at that exact moment. Detectives displayed the profile picture of Popshots_EJ to a local resident. Her reaction was immediate. She identified the individual as a teenager known as EJ, who attended a local alternative high school. Detective Pearson contacted the school resource officer, who quickly identified the student as 16-year-old Laquan Dempsey. Laquan's grandmother agreed to bring him to the police station for an interview. During the interrogation, Laquan initially attempted to distance himself from the crime. He claimed that he had lent his mobile phone and his Instagram account to a friend who was involved in gang activity. He asserted that this friend had used his phone to arrange the meeting and had subsequently carried out the shootings as a gang initiation, taking the victim's backpack containing the marijuana. However, Detective Pearson had obtained the call detail records for Laquan's phone. The records showed that the phone had connected to a cell tower in the immediate vicinity of the park at the time of the murders. Furthermore, the phone had been used to place a call to Laquan's grandmother's number just 11 hours after the shooting. This evidence directly contradicted Laquan's claim that his phone was in the possession of someone else miles away. Faced with the undeniable digital evidence, Laquan's family retained legal representation, and he declined to answer further questions. Armed with the Instagram messages, the cell tower data, and the canine tracking results. Detective Pearson obtained arrest warrants for Laquan Dempsey on charges of felony murder. He was taken into custody at his grandmother's residence. 3 years after the tragic loss of Aiden and John, their mothers met to support one another in their shared grief. They remembered their sons as inseparable friends who were full of life, humor, and potential. The mothers found comfort in their enduring bond, acknowledging that they were forever joined by the memory of their children. These 3 investigations demonstrate the profound impact of violent crime on individuals, families, and communities. In each case, detectives worked methodically to separate truth from rumors, relying on objective evidence and forensic science to solve complex crimes. The dedication of these law enforcement professionals ensures that those who commit acts of violence are held accountable while offering a sobering reminder of the value of human life and the critical importance of choosing the path of peace and justice. Chapter 1. The passage of time is the most relentless adversary of those who seek justice. In the quiet hours of the night, when the rest of the world is asleep, a thin line of investigators stands between the chaos of violent crime and the cold silence of unsolved history for those who dedicate their lives to solving homicides. There is an unwritten rule, a statistical reality that governs their existence. The first 48 hours. If a lead is not found within this critical window, the probability of solving the case is cut in half. The trail begins to grow cold almost immediately as memories fade. Evidence is washed away by the elements, and those responsible begin to cover their tracks. On a humid night in North Charleston, South Carolina, the silence was shattered by a frantic call to the emergency dispatch center. The voice on the other end of the line was trembling with fear, reporting that someone was outside, banging violently on the windows and doors of a residence at 6 Rolling Fork Road, screaming desperately for help. The dispatcher dispatched patrol units to the scene immediately, signaling that an officer would arrive as soon as possible. Unit 342 arrived on the scene shortly after, the blue and red lights reflecting off the damp pavement. The responding officer quickly realized that this was not a simple disturbance. The officer reported a robbery with a victim down, noting that there was a substantial amount of blood scattered across the immediate area. The victim had sustained a gunshot wound to the upper thigh, and his pulse was fading rapidly, although he was still breathing when the first responders arrived. Despite the efforts of the medical personnel, the injury proved fatal. The femoral artery had been severed, causing a rapid and catastrophic loss of blood. When the homicide detectives arrived, they were greeted by the somber reality of a young life cut short. The deceased victim lay underneath a stairwell on the first floor of the apartment complex. There was no immediate identification on his person, but he bore several distinctive tattoos that suggested potential street affiliations. The investigators knew that fingerprinting would be required to establish his true identity. The physical evidence painted a grim picture. A distinct trail of blood led from the stairwell back behind a row of dumpsters, continuing along a metal guardrail. Near the scene, investigators located a 9mm ammunition magazine, but there was no firearm to be found. The lack of gunshots reported by the neighbors suggested that the shooting might have occurred within the enclosed space of a vehicle, muffling the sound and explaining why no one in the immediate vicinity had heard the fatal blast. A locked cell phone was recovered near the blood trail, presumably belonging to the victim. The device held potential clues, prompting the detectives to seek a search warrant to access its contents. Detectives began the tedious process of interviewing the residents of the apartment complex. They spoke with the couple who had placed the emergency call. The residents confirmed they had heard no gunfire, only the desperate knocking of a man fighting for his life. The male resident explained that he worked early morning shifts at a local supermarket and had been asleep when his partner noticed a figure near their front door. Security footage from a resident's doorbell camera provided a critical piece of the puzzle. The video captured the victim approaching the door at 1:16 in the morning, clearly suffering from his injuries, but there was no one pursuing him. The camera appeared to be accurate on time, giving the detectives a precise anchor for the timeline of the event. To expand their view, investigators noticed a city-managed security camera pointed directly at the entrance of the apartment complex. Because the complex had only one entrance and exit, any vehicle involved in the incident would have to pass through that single point. Chapter 2. While the technical team worked to retrieve data from the city cameras, the county coroner provided the first major breakthrough. Through fingerprint database matches, the victim was identified as 21-year-old Aurelius Siren Nelson Jr., known affectionately to his family and friends as C.A. Native of James Island, South Carolina, he was a father to a young son leaving behind a grieving family who deserved answers. The digital forensics team focused heavily on the recovered cell phone. In the absence of eyewitnesses, the digital footprint left behind by the victim was their most promising lead. Meanwhile, the analysis of the city's security footage began to yield results. Investigators focused their attention on the minutes leading up to the emergency call, searching for any vehicle leaving the complex. Around 1:11 in the morning, a single vehicle was observed exiting the property and turning eastbound on Rivers Avenue at a high rate of speed. The vehicle appeared to be a white or silver sedan, possibly an Infiniti, although the license plate digits were not visible in the initial footage. The distinctive taillight pattern matched the profile of a late-model Infiniti sedan. Detectives made contact with the security firm responsible for the cameras mounted near the apartment complex pool. The representative agreed to meet the investigators at 8 o'clock in the morning to provide direct access to the high-definition recording system stored in the pool clubhouse closet. The cooperative effort between private security and local law enforcement promised to deliver a clearer picture of the vehicle. As the investigators left the apartment complex, they were approached by a young woman who identified herself as the girlfriend of Aurelius. She was visibly distraught, having learned of his death from his family. She informed the detectives that they had been staying at a nearby motel located approximately a mile from the crime scene. According to her account, Aurelius had been sleeping, but suddenly woke up around 1 o'clock in the morning, got dressed, and walked out without speaking to her. She insisted that no one had followed him from the room, leaving his sudden departure a mystery. When detectives analyzed the high-definition footage from the pool cameras, they confirmed the presence of a white Infiniti sedan. The vehicle was moving slowly through the parking lot around the time of the shooting, but the actual violent encounter occurred just out of the camera's frame. Despite the improved quality, the license plate remained illegible, leaving the team to rely on other investigative methods to locate the car. Chapter 3. After 12 hours of continuous investigation, the case took an unexpected turn. Patrol officers in a nearby sector observed a Toyota RAV4 driving erratically. A passenger in the vehicle was attempting to conceal his face with a jacket. When a patrol sergeant attempted to initiate a traffic stop, the vehicle pulled over, and 2 male occupants fled on foot into the darkness. Upon inspecting the abandoned vehicle, officers discovered a significant amount of blood inside. The remaining passenger, who had been hiding under the jacket, claimed that he had been assaulted and kidnapped by the 2 men who fled. He asserted that his captors were friends of the late Aurelius and accused him of setting up their friend to be killed. The individual was transported to a local hospital for treatment, where detectives conducted an interview. He revealed that Aurelius had visited his apartment near the crime scene earlier that night and stated he was planning to commit a robbery. He claimed that Aurelius left on foot and never returned. The following morning, the 2 vengeful friends arrived at his home, forced him to call the individual Aurelius had intended to rob, and then forced him into the vehicle when the call was abruptly disconnected. During the interview, the witness provided the name of a known local drug dealer who drove a white Infiniti G37. This information aligned perfectly with the vehicle observed on the security footage. The detectives now had a primary suspect and a potential motive, a robbery attempt that had gone horribly wrong. Investigators began checking several addresses associated with the owner of the white Infiniti. They combed through neighborhoods, checking driveways and parking lots for any sign of the white sedan. Despite hours of searching, the vehicle remained elusive. To broaden the net, detectives entered the vehicle's information into regional law enforcement databases and put out a general notification for agencies in the surrounding area to be on the lookout for the car. The next morning, the digital forensics team successfully extracted messages from the victim's phone. The data revealed a series of text messages between Aurelius and the owner of the Infiniti, spanning 20 to 30 minutes prior to the shooting. The final messages indicated a meeting location, and the suspect had sent a follow-up text after the incident, likely attempting to establish an alibi by asking where Aurelius was. Chapter 4. Through public records, investigators discovered that the suspect had recently been released on a substantial bond for drug-related charges in a neighboring county. The detective contacted the bail bonding company that had secured his release. The bondsman provided a current address and the name of the suspect's girlfriend, offering a new avenue of approach. Detectives located the suspect's girlfriend and invited her to the police department to assist with the investigation. During the interview, she confirmed that she spoke with the suspect daily and that he had visited her residence. Early on the morning of the incident, she described his behavior as typical and confirmed that he drove a white sedan. In an effort to resolve the matter peacefully, the detective asked the girlfriend to call the suspect. With the call on speakerphone, the investigator introduced himself and requested that the suspect come to City Hall to discuss the ongoing investigation. The suspect agreed, stating he would arrive within an hour. However, before the suspect could arrive voluntarily, a license plate reader in the area flagged the white Infiniti. Patrol officers executed a high-risk traffic stop, detaining the suspect and securing the vehicle. The car was immediately towed to a secure police warehouse to preserve any physical evidence. The suspect was brought to the interrogation room, visibly upset about being detained after agreeing to meet. The lead detective explained the situation, apologized for the abrupt arrest due to the automated system flag, and removed his handcuffs as a gesture of goodwill. The detective presented the suspect with his constitutional rights, which the suspect reviewed and signed, expressing his desire to speak with an attorney before making any official statements. Faced with the suspect's refusal to speak without counsel, the detectives focused their efforts on the physical search of the white Infiniti. They secured a search warrant for the vehicle, hoping to find physical evidence that would clarify what transpired inside the cabin. Chapter 5. The search of the vehicle yielded immediate results. Investigators noticed a small hole in the driver's side door panel that appeared to be consistent with a bullet strike. Although no firearm or spent casings were visible on the surface, the interior of the vehicle smelled faintly of blood, suggesting a recent cleanup attempt. Forensic technicians applied a chemical agent designed to detect trace amounts of blood that had been wiped away. The application revealed a large, glowing pattern on the passenger seat, indicating that a substantial volume of blood had soaked deep into the cushion. Investigators carefully cut open the fabric, revealing a large pool of blood that had seeped into the foam padding. The evidence indicated that an injured person had been sitting in the passenger seat, and someone had made a conscious effort to clean the surface to conceal the crime. With DNA evidence proving the blood belonged to the victim, combined with the location data and text messages, the detectives had sufficient probable cause to charge the suspect. However, the exact nature of the charge remained a point of discussion. While the physical evidence pointed to a shooting inside the car, The circumstances suggested a struggle during an attempted robbery, raising the possibility of self-defense. The detective returned to the interview room to inform the suspect of the formal charges. Upon hearing that he was being charged with murder, the suspect became highly emotional, asserting that he did not own a firearm and that he had been the victim of an armed robbery. He claimed that Aurelius had pulled a gun on him, resulting in a struggle for the weapon during which the gun discharged twice. According to his account, Aurelius accidentally shot himself during the scuffle, cried out that he was injured, and fled the vehicle. Terrified, the suspect panicked, drove away, and discarded the firearm. The suspect agreed to waive his right to silence and documented his account on a rights advisement form. His detailed description of the struggle, the erratic movement of the vehicle, and the accidental discharge of the firearm aligned with the physical evidence, including the trajectory of the bullet hole in the door and the nature of the victim's thigh wound. Recognizing that the suspect's account of self-defense was consistent with the physical facts, the prosecution and the investigative team determined that a murder charge was not appropriate. Instead, the suspect was charged with misprision of a felony for his actions after the incident, specifically for failing to report the shooting, disposing of the firearm, and attempting to destroy the blood evidence inside his vehicle. The resolution of the case highlighted the importance of objective physical evidence in ensuring that charges accurately reflect the truth of an incident. Chapter 6. The focus of justice often shifts across county lines, where different communities face similar tragedies born of poor choices and violent encounters. In Gwinnett County, Georgia, a double homicide shocked the residents of a quiet neighborhood near Norris Lake. The emergency call came in the dark hours of the morning from a young woman who had been sleeping in her car at a local park. She reported hearing multiple gunshots and discovering her boyfriend and his friend unresponsive near a picnic table. The first responding officers arrived to find a grim scene. 2 teenagers lay deceased near the wooden structure. The first victim was identified as 19-year-old Aiden Reynolds, an aspiring musician and delivery driver who was beloved by his family. The second victim was his best friend, 17-year-old John Pendrick, who had recently started a career as an oil technician and possessed a passion for outdoor activities and skateboarding. The physical scene was littered with evidence. Crime scene investigators recovered 13 spent 9mm shell casings clustered closely around the picnic table, suggesting a single shooter had fired rapidly. A search of the immediate area revealed a realistic-looking toy pistol tucked into the waistband of one of the victims, along with 2 damaged cell phones lying near the bodies. A police canine unit was deployed to track the suspect's path of escape. The dog successfully followed a scent trail through the woods, leading directly to the backyard of a residence located a quarter of a mile from the park. However, the track ended abruptly at the house, where residents refused to answer the door. When officers knocked, detectives began their investigation by interviewing the young woman who had placed the emergency call. She revealed that the two victims had driven to the park to perform a transaction involving marijuana valued at $400. She explained that the meeting had been arranged via Instagram with an unidentified individual. She claimed to have fallen asleep in the vehicle and was awakened only by the sound of gunfire, catching only a brief glimpse of two figures dressed in black fleeing the scene. The investigators suspected that the incident was a targeted robbery. They began searching for security cameras in the neighborhood that might have captured the suspect's movements before or after the shooting. A nearby homeowner possessed a motion-activated camera system, but the family lacked the active internet connection required to download the footage immediately, requiring the detectives to wait for technical assistance. Chapter 7. The digital forensics team worked to gain access to the victim's damaged cell phones. While one phone remained inaccessible due to physical damage, technicians successfully retrieved data from the other device. The messages revealed a conversation between the victims and an Instagram account with the username popshuts_. The messages detailed the negotiation for 56 grams of marijuana. The suspect had instructed the victims to meet at the park at sunset, a local term used for the area near the lake. The timeline of the messages matched the security footage that investigators eventually recovered from the neighboring residence. The video footage captured the victim's vehicle arriving at 12:04 in the morning. At 12:13, the headlights of another vehicle flickered, indicating communication. At 12:25, the suspect sent a message stating he had arrived, and the video showed two figures approaching the victims near the picnic table. Seconds later, the figures fled, leaving behind a scene of devastation. The investigators identified the owner of the Instagram profile as a local 16-year-old named Laquan Dempsey. The youth attended a local alternative high school, and residents in the community recognized his photograph, confirming his nickname was EJ. Detectives visited the residence where the canine unit had terminated its track. A resident confirmed that Laquan was a frequent visitor to the home and was a friend of her brother. She revealed that Laquan had recently expressed anger over a previous incident where he claimed to have been robbed by a young man during a similar transaction, suggesting a potential motive of retaliation. The detective contacted Laquan's grandmother, who agreed to bring the teenager to the police department for questioning. During the interview, Laquan initially claimed that he had shared his Instagram account with a friend and had lent his phone to that same individual during the week of the homicide. However, the investigator had secured cell phone tower records for Laquan's device. The data placed his phone in the immediate vicinity of the park at the exact time of the murders, and records showed several calls made from the device to his grandmother's phone during that period. Confronted with the digital evidence, Laquan's narrative began to unravel. Laquan admitted to being present at the park, but claimed he was merely a witness to the actions of his companion, who he alleged was attempting to initiate him into a local street gang. He claimed his companion had taken his phone to arranged the meeting and had executed the robbery and shooting without his prior knowledge. Despite his attempts to minimize his involvement, the evidence demonstrated that Laquan had actively participated in the planning and execution of the robbery that resulted in the deaths of the two teenagers. Investigators secured warrants for his arrest, and he was taken into custody without incident at his grandmother's home. The tragedy left two families bound by a shared grief, a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of youth violence. Chapter 8. The pursuit of justice often requires investigators to look backward, unearthing secrets that have been buried by time and human hands. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, a bizarre discovery on the city's west side set off a complex investigation into a crime that had occurred months earlier. A resident searching for her lost cat's collar in a neighbor's backyard made a horrifying discovery. Tucked beneath the debris of a detached garage that had burned down 5 months prior, she found human skeletal remains. The patrol officers who arrived on the scene confirmed the presence of a human jawbone and secured the area for homicide detectives. The Tulsa Fire Department had extinguished a major blaze at the detached garage in September of the previous year, because the structure had been filled with a significant amount of discarded items. Firefighters had not noticed the body beneath the collapsed roof and debris during the initial incident. A forensic anthropologist, Dr. Angela Berg, was called to the scene to assist with the excavation. Her preliminary examination revealed clear signs of blunt force trauma and fractures to the skull that did not appear to be the result of the fire. The positioning of the remains suggested the body had been intentionally placed under a structure before the fire began. As investigators began clearing the scene, they recovered a single spent 9mm shell casing, heavily corroded by exposure and heat. Dr. Berg's subsequent analysis confirmed that the victim had sustained a fatal gunshot wound to the base of the skull, officially reclassifying the case as a homicide. The property owner's behavior immediately aroused suspicion. When a crime scene detective contacted him to request that he return to the property, the homeowner claimed to be out of state and refused to meet. However, patrol officers quickly determined that he was still in the local area, suggesting he was actively avoiding contact with law enforcement. During a subsequent phone conversation, the homeowner admitted that a local resident named Stephen Wilkins had been living in the garage prior to the fire. He claimed he had not seen Stephen since the night of the blaze and assumed he had fled after some unidentified individuals had visited the property to express their displeasure with him. The homeowner was brought to the detective division for a formal interview. He explained that Stephen had fallen on hard times and had been living in the garage apartment for approximately 3 years. He claimed that on the evening of the fire, 2 unidentified white males had visited Stephen, and Stephen had indicated they were unhappy with him. The homeowner insisted he had no involvement in the fire or Stephen's disappearance, claiming he simply assumed his tenant had run away to escape trouble. Chapter 9. The breakthrough in the case came from the community itself. A patrol officer brought in a female resident from the West Side who claimed to have firsthand knowledge of the incident. She revealed that a rumor had been circulating through the neighborhood that Stephen Wilkins had allegedly drugged a local young woman. According to her account, a local man named Tad Kleiner, known on the street as Taboo, became enraged by the rumor. On the night of the fire, Tad, along with his companions Michael Brummett and Devin Scrivener, went to the garage to confront Stephen. The witness stated that Tad had openly bragged about severely assaulting Stephen, claiming they had beaten him to the ground. She further alleged that Michael Brummett had been tasked with cleaning up the scene and had subsequently set the garage on fire to destroy the physical evidence of the assault. Investigators verified that Michael Brummett was currently serving a 5-year sentence in a state correctional facility on unrelated firearm charges. Notably, he had been arrested months after the fire in possession of a 9mm handgun, providing a potential match for the casing recovered from the burn site. Detectives located the female informant's boyfriend, who was currently held in the county jail on unrelated charges. He confirmed the account, stating that he had seen Devin Scrivener with a significant injury to his hand on the night of the fire. He also recalled Michael Brummett discussing the need to resolve a situation for Tad and mentioning the use of bleach to clean up blood. With the identification of the suspects established, the medical examiner's office successfully confirmed the identity of the remains as 55-year-old Stephen Wilkins. Anthropologists utilized ante-mortem medical records and radiographs from a local hospital to make a positive identification, allowing the detectives to proceed with formal charges. Investigators focused their efforts on locating 26-year-old Devin Scrivener, believing him to be the most cooperative of the 3 suspects. After a 2-day search, detectives located Devin at his girlfriend's residence and brought him to the station for questioning. During the interview, Devin admitted to being present at the garage on the night of the incident. He explained that Tad had recruited him and Michael to confront Stephen regarding the rumors of drugging women. He described how Tad had aggressively confronted Stephen, quickly escalating the encounter to a physical assault. Devin claimed that as the beating progressed, he became uncomfortable and attempted to intervene, telling Tad to stop. He admitted that during the struggle, Stephen had attempted to defend himself, prompting Devin to strike him with a sharp object, injuring his own hand in the process. He then witnessed Michael Brummett draw a handgun and fire a single shot, killing Stephen. Instantly terrified, Devin fled the scene, leaving the others to burn the structure. Chapter 10. With Devin's detailed confession, investigators secured arrest warrants for first-degree murder for all 3 participants. Tad Kleiner was located and arrested by the warrants team 2 days later. During his interrogation, Tad initially denied any involvement in the murder or the fire. He admitted to knowing Stephen and confirmed he had confronted him in the past regarding his behavior toward local women, but he insisted he had never physically assaulted him. The detective presented the evidence, including Devon's confession and the accounts of multiple witnesses who had heard Tad brag about the assault. Confronted with the reality of the situation, Tad's denials became less convincing. He was booked into the county jail on charges of first-degree murder alongside Devon Scrivener and Michael Brummett. In an effort to understand the origin of the violence, detectives located the young woman whom Stephen had supposedly drugged. When shown Stephen's photograph, she stated she had never seen him before in her life. She confirmed she had never been assaulted, harassed, or drugged by Stephen, revealing that the entire rumor was completely false. The investigation concluded with the tragic realization that Stephen Wilkins had lost his life over a baseless neighborhood rumor. The case highlighted the devastating consequences of street justice and vigilante violence, where assumptions and gossip replaced the rule of law, leaving a family to mourn a father and brother whose life was taken without cause. The efforts of the investigators across these different communities demonstrated a shared commitment to uncovering the truth, whether piecing together digital footprints from a cell phone, analyzing trace blood evidence hidden beneath a car seat, or sifting through the ashes of a forgotten fire. The pursuit of justice remains a meticulous, human endeavor. Through patience, objective analysis, and a respect for the lives of the victims, those who serve in law, enforcement continued to provide answers for the families left behind, ensuring that the truth is never entirely lost to the passage of time. The shadows of a southern night often hold secrets that only the morning light can begin to untangle. In the quiet hours before dawn in North Charleston, South Carolina, the peace of a residential neighborhood was shattered by a desperate plea for help. The emergency dispatcher answered a call at 911, hearing the trembling voice of a resident at 6 Rolling Fork Road. A stranger was outside, frantically banging on the doors and windows, screaming for assistance. The dispatcher, maintaining a calm and professional demeanor, assured the caller that an officer would be dispatched immediately. Within minutes, patrol officers arrived at the scene. The quiet suburban complex was transformed into a landscape of flashing blue lights and urgent radio transmissions. One of the responding officers reported a grim discovery near the stairwell of the first floor. There was a substantial amount of blood pooling on the concrete. Underneath the stairs lay a young man, unresponsive and bleeding heavily from a single gunshot wound to his upper thigh. His pulse was rapidly fading, and though he was still breathing, his life was slipping away. Despite the swift arrival of medical personnel, the young man succumbed to his injury. For the homicide detectives assigned to the case, a silent clock had begun to tick. In the realm of criminal investigation, it is a well-established understanding that the chances of solving a homicide are significantly reduced if investigators do not secure a viable lead within the first 48 hours. Detective Reams was asleep when the call came in, but the gravity of the Situation quickly dispelled any lingering fatigue. Arriving at the apartment complex, he joined his colleagues to survey the area. The deceased victim lay beneath the metal stairwell. He carried no identification, leaving his name a temporary mystery. However, his body bore several distinct tattoos that suggested potential gang affiliations. The immediate task was to obtain his fingerprints to establish his identity. On-scene examination revealed a single gunshot entry wound on the inner side of his left thigh. The heavy blood loss indicated that his femoral artery had been severed, a catastrophic injury that would have rendered him unconscious within minutes. A methodical search of the surroundings revealed a trail of blood winding past the apartment dumpsters and leading toward a nearby guardrail. Near the start of this trail, crime scene technicians discovered a 9mm handgun magazine resting on the ground. It was loaded, yet there was no firearm in the immediate vicinity. Detectives searched the surrounding foliage, realizing that a metal detector would be necessary to thoroughly sweep the grassy areas. Strangely, none of the neighbors reported hearing gunfire. This silence led detectives to hypothesize that the shooting might have occurred inside a vehicle. A person could have been sitting in a parked car, engaged in a conversation that turned violent, gotten shot, and then stumbled out of the vehicle while the assailant sped away. As the search continued, investigators found a cell phone lying near the blood trail. It was locked, but its location strongly suggested it belonged to the victim. Understanding the wealth of information a modern phone can hold, Detective Reams decided to secure a search warrant to access its contents. He contacted a digital forensics specialist, Detective Sanders, to prepare for a data extraction. The phone could reveal who the victim had been communicating with, who he was scheduled to meet, and whether he was involved in some type of transaction just before his death. In the meantime, detectives began the traditional legwork of interviewing residents. They spoke with the couple who had placed the 911 call. The husband, who worked early shifts at a local supermarket, explained that he had been asleep when his wife noticed a shadow moving outside their door. They had not heard any gunshots, only the desperate knocking. Fortunately, the couple had a security camera installed on their front porch. The wife opened an app on her phone to share the footage with the detectives. The video showed the victim stumbling toward their door at exactly 1:16. In the morning, he was clearly wounded and seeking help, but there was no one pursuing him. This visual evidence was incredibly valuable, confirming the precise timeline of the victim's final movements. Still, the lack of gunshot reports remained an anomaly. Detectives scanned the exterior of the apartment buildings and noticed several security cameras mounted on poles and walls. Some of these cameras belonged to a city-managed surveillance network, while others were part of a private security system. Obtaining this footage would be a priority upon returning to the police department. Before leaving the scene, Detective Reams received word from the coroner. Through fingerprint analysis, the victim was identified as 21-year-old Aurelius Siren Nelson Jr., known affectionately to his family and friends as
C.
He was a native of James Island, South Carolina, and the father of a young
son.
With a name now attached to the tragedy, the investigation gained a clearer
focus.
Back at the office, the digital forensics team worked to bypass the security on Aurelius's cell phone. Simultaneously, investigators analyzed the city. Surveillance cameras near the apartment complex entrance, which was the sole point of entry and exit for vehicles. If the shooting had taken place inside a car, that vehicle would have had to exit the complex shortly after the incident. Detective Sanders carefully reviewed the footage from approximately 5 minutes before Aurelius appeared on the doorbell camera at approximately 1:11 in the morning. A set of headlights appeared, moving toward the exit. The traffic was minimal at that hour, making this vehicle highly suspicious. The car turned onto the main road and accelerated quickly. From another camera angle, detectives determined that the vehicle was a light-colored, possibly white or
silver, Infiniti sedan.
Unfortunately, the license plate digits were obscured by the glare of the streetlights, preventing an immediate identification. Detective Reams contacted the private security company responsible for the apartment complex cameras. The representative agreed to meet him at the pool clubhouse, where the recording system was housed, to retrieve high-resolution footage. As the detectives prepared to leave the complex after gathering the video, they were approached by a young woman who introduced herself as Aurelius's girlfriend. Visibly shaken, she explained that she had heard about the shooting from his family. She revealed that they had been staying at a budget motel about a mile away. On the night of the shooting, Aurelius had been sleeping but woke up around 1 in the morning, got dressed quickly, and left without saying a word. She did not know if he had received a call or who he was planning to meet. Returning to headquarters, the team reviewed the newly acquired high-resolution footage from the apartment complex pool area. The video captured the white Infiniti sedan cruising slowly through the parking lot. While the license plate remained illegible, the detectives grew increasingly confident that this specific vehicle was central to the crime. After 12 consecutive hours of intense investigation, just as the detectives were considering a brief rest, the case took an unexpected turn. Patrol officers on routine duty spotted a Toyota Sport utility vehicle driving erratically.
A
passenger in the vehicle had a jacket draped over his head. When a patrol sergeant attempted to initiate a traffic stop, the vehicle pulled over and 2 individuals immediately fled on foot into the darkness. Upon inspecting the abandoned vehicle, officers discovered significant amounts of blood inside. The passenger with the jacket over his head claimed he had been kidnapped and assaulted by the 2 men who fled. He asserted that these men were friends of Aurelius, who believed he had set Aurelius up to be killed. Detective Reams went to the hospital to interview this individual. The man explained that Aurelius had visited his home shortly before the shooting and mentioned a plan to rob a local drug dealer. Aurelius had left on foot, and the man had not heard from him again. The following morning, Aurelius is vengeful. Friends had confronted him, demanding that he call the target of the intended robbery. When the call was placed, the individual on the other end hung up. Immediately, the friends then forced him into the vehicle, where he was assaulted before the police intervened. The man provided detectives with the name of the individual Aurelius had planned
to rob.
A database search of this suspect revealed that he was associated with a white 2010 Infiniti G37 sedan, matching the vehicle seen. On the surveillance footage, the suspect had several historical addresses in the
area.
Detectives spent the next several hours checking these locations, hoping to spot the white Infiniti. During their search, they encountered a few individuals, but found no sign of the car. Realizing the vehicle could be hidden anywhere, they issued a regional flyer to alert all local law enforcement agencies to watch for the car. By the second day of the investigation, the digital forensics team successfully extracted data from Aurelius's phone. The call logs and text messages revealed a consistent exchange between Aurelius and the suspect leading up to the shooting. The messaging had persisted for nearly 30 minutes, likely coordinating a meeting place. The final message from the suspect was sent shortly after the estimated time of the shooting, asking Aurelius where he was, possibly in an attempt to create an alibi. Further research into the suspect's background revealed a modest criminal record, including a recent arrest involving a substantial bond for narcotics. Detective Rames contacted the bail bonds company that had secured the suspect's release. The bondsman provided the name and address of the suspect's girlfriend, offering a fresh lead. Detective Sanders, who is now leading the interview process, visited the girlfriend's residence. She confirmed that the suspect was the father of her child and that they spoke daily. She agreed to accompany the detective to the police station to assist with the investigation. In the interview room, the girlfriend described the suspect as a good father who worked regular hours. She mentioned that he had visited her early Sunday morning, around 2 o'clock, and did not seem unusually nervous. She admitted he drove a white Infiniti, but denied knowing him to carry weapons or deal drugs. Detective Sanders gently explained the gravity of the situation, suggesting that the suspect might have been a victim of an attempted robbery who acted in self-defense. He asked the girlfriend if she would be willing to call the suspect on speakerphone. She agreed. The suspect answered, and Detective Sanders introduced himself, stating that they needed to speak about an ongoing investigation. The suspect, sounding cooperative, promised to arrive at the city hall within an hour. However, 20 minutes later, a local license plate reader flagged the white Infiniti nearby. Patrol officers quickly descended on the vehicle, conducting a high-risk traffic stop. The suspect was detained, and the vehicle was secured for transport to a police forensic warehouse. When the suspect was brought into the interview room, he was visibly angry about the sudden arrest, noting that he had been on his way to meet the detectives. Voluntarily, Detective Sanders apologized for the lack of coordination among the units and removed his handcuffs to establish a more cooperative atmosphere.
He
presented the suspect with a constitutional rights advisement form. The suspect, however, declined to make a statement without a lawyer present, expressing concern that he was being set up for a serious charge. With the interview at a standstill, the detectives focused on the search warrant for the Infiniti. While they had strong circumstantial evidence, including communication logs and surveillance footage, they lacked definitive proof of what had occurred inside the car. If a shooting had taken place, the severed femoral artery would have left significant biological evidence, even if the interior had been cleaned. At the forensic warehouse, crime scene technicians began their examination of the white Infiniti. They noticed what appeared to be an older bullet hole in the driver's side door, but an initial search of the cabin yielded no weapons or casings. To search for latent evidence, the team utilized a chemical compound called Blue Star, which illuminates trace amounts of blood under specialized lighting. The application revealed a bright luminescent reaction across the front passenger seat. It was clear that someone had thoroughly wiped down the leather, but the blood had seeped deep into the foam cushion beneath. A detective used a knife to cut open the seat, revealing a heavy accumulation of dried blood that had soaked through the fabric. This discovery provided the probable cause needed to sustain a charge. The suspect had not only been present at the scene, but he had also actively destroyed evidence of a violent crime. Faced with this overwhelming physical evidence, the detectives decided to formally present the charges to the suspect. Detective Sanders entered the interview room and informed the suspect that he was being charged with murder. Based on the blood found in his vehicle, the suspect reacted with shock and outrage, claiming he did not own a firearm and had been the victim of an attack. He blurted out that the deceased had shot himself. Seeing an opportunity to hear the suspect's version of events, Detective Sanders asked if he was willing to waive his rights and speak openly. The suspect agreed and signed the waiver. The suspect then recounted the events of that night. He explained that Aurelius, whom he knew casually from a local convenience store, had asked to meet near a restaurant. Aurelius got into the passenger seat and gave driving directions. Suddenly, Aurelius produced a handgun and announced a robbery. A desperate struggle ensued within the moving vehicle. The suspect fought for his life, grabbing Aurelius's wrist and attempting to redirect the firearm. During the scuffle, the gun discharged twice. The suspect recalled Aurelius crying out that he had shot himself. Once the struggle ceased, Aurelius fled from the vehicle, scaling a nearby fence toward the apartment complex. Terrified and confused, the suspect sped away from the scene, throwing the firearm out of the window into a wooded area before returning home to clean his car. After reviewing the suspect's statement, the detectives consulted with one another. The medical examiner's findings regarding the trajectory of the bullet and the lack of defensive wounds on the suspect's hands aligned with the narrative of an accidental self-inflicted wound during a struggle. The entry, wound on the inner thigh, was highly consistent with a firearm discharging while held at a low angle during a close-quarters wrestle. Ultimately, The detectives concluded that a murder charge was not appropriate. Instead, they decided to charge the suspect with misprision of a felony, a charge reflecting his decision to conceal the firearm and clean the blood from his vehicle rather than reporting the incident to the police. Detective Sanders returned to the room to deliver the news. He emphasized that while the suspect was not being charged with murder, his actions after the incident were serious offenses that carried consequences. He urged the young man to always contact law enforcement immediately if he ever found himself in such a terrifying situation again. With the investigation concluded, the tragic reality of the case remained. Aurelius Siren Nelson Jr. had made a fateful decision to engage in a robbery, a choice that ultimately cost him his life and left a young child without a
father.
In another part of the country, beneath the tall pines of Gwinnett County, Georgia, a different tragedy unfolded in a quiet neighborhood park. Late one evening, the Gwinnett County Police Dispatch received a frantic call from a young woman. She reported that she had been sleeping in her car at a local park when she was awakened by the sound of rapid gunfire. She believed her boyfriend and his friend had been shot and were unresponsive. Emergency personnel rushed to the park, where they located a vehicle parked near a wooden picnic table. Two young men were found nearby, showing no signs of
life.
Officers immediately established a secure perimeter and requested a canine unit to search for any suspects who might have fled into the surrounding woods. The tracking dog quickly picked up a scent, leading officers along a dirt trail that wound through the forest and emerged near the backyard of a residential home. The dog alerted on the rear of the house, but the track ended there, suggesting the suspects may have entered the home or utilized a vehicle parked nearby. Officers knocked on the door of the residence, but the lights inside were quickly extinguished